Maybe it's the same. Yeah. They're all the same. Yeah. Oh,
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I was trying to see. TSD, can you show us on this monitor on the floor who is okay, we'll need to see who the participants are. Thank you so much. Pretty.
I did not put that spike on the retention bonus.
Oh.
So if you go to the retention bonus line.
This one?
Go to the right. Change that number to 1184,427.78. Okay, and then that's just, now you're gonna be over.
Kate is not coming.
Okay.
Okay.
Kate's traveling.
Okay, so if you come down, we should be over, like, yeah. there you go.
We have all, Jen? I don't know. So we have all these extra chairs, so we,
Well, I think we got more people were coming.
oh, okay.
This is Kim, and Jennifer said that she will not be attending.
Okay. All right, I wish to call to order this joint meeting of the Monroe County Board of Commissioners and Monroe County Council. We'll note for the record that this is not a time when we're going to be taking a lot of input, I guess, on different things, at least not public comment. We're here to discuss what our priorities are for the expenditure of the ARPA funding that we've gotten from the federal government. Mr. Councilmember Decker, do you wish to call to order the council?
Yeah, on behalf of President Wills, recognize that we've got Councilor Iverson, Councilor Munson, Councilor Kim, and myself. We're
And I will note for the record that all three county commissioners are present. One of the things that we did with this is
that one works. If you, Madam President, if you don't mind, I'm going to restate it
Yes,
for the
please
public record. Let it be shown, I call the council to order on behalf of President Wiltz. With us, we have Councilor Iverson, myself, Councilor Trent Decker, Councilor Cheryl Munson, Councilor Jeff McKim, constituting a quorum of the county council.
Appreciate that. So people were asked, the members of the county council and the county commissioners were asked to respond to a Survey Monkey where we were basically told, if you had $100 to spend on different projects, how would you allocate those dollars? And people could give $100 to just a single project. They could break it down and give $27 to no, not everything, but they could not go over the $100 total in terms of how they chose to allocate the money. And Ms. Purdy has put together information for us in terms of the number of people that responded to different things. And I think it's worth noting too that, oh, sorry. Mr. Thomas put together this, sorry, came out from Ms. Purdy's email. So I don't know how people would like to proceed on these discussions. I keep messing up my own laptop.
Okay, so I just collated this. So we had 6 respondents out of 10 potential respondents. And I collated the information there, total dollars, number of respondents who picked that item, and then the other questions that are listed. I recommend that we focus first on the things that we all seem to agree on, and then work with the remaining money. If that's amenable to others.
Yes,
Okay.
Mr. McKim.
Yes, we also received a spreadsheet that included, I guess, what you would call kind of a proposal that makes everything kind of fit into the various categories and includes what we've already essentially agreed upon and what's still under discussion. How does that fit into this discussion that we're having here?
This was, I believe, put together by Ms. Purdy, is that correct?
That's
Yeah.
correct.
So looking at if we funded everything, both the things that we've already agreed to fund and additional items, where would we stand with regard to the overall dollars that we have available?
Yeah, so an explanation of the spreadsheet that I sent to all of you guys. There's actually 3 tabs. The first tab is the basic proposal, where I had placed those items that have already been approved and appropriated. I did not include some things that we already have appropriated, but I anticipate you're going to be de-appropriating due to problems associated with that particular project. And it's set up such that you can move things around and you can choose which of the blue, which in the bottom part of the document, those are new projects that have not been approved by the groups. I will say that I did take some of the other projects that had also been included and presented to you guys as on the second page. So you can move those on to the first page, but it allows you to work within the money that we have available and to come up with how much you want to provide to the various projects. The other thing I want to explain on the Karst farm project, the 4-point-something million, that is for the turf and lights. Council approved bond of like 1.2 million. That can be for this. You could do it for part of this project, the turf and the lights. Or you can take care of all of the projects at Karst. They have the grass fields that are needing repair, and that was a 1.2 million for that. And then the 4-something is for the turf. So you've got some flexibility as to how you would like to manage those dollars. So does that help everybody? And the ones I put on the tab 1, and also on tab 3. Tab 3, I gave you a proposal that would make it come out to where you're not overexpending any funds. In order to I did give Ms. Githens a corrected number for the retention bonus, that I had failed to include the FICA payments that had also come out of that. So she can relay you that information if you want to fill it into your document that you have.
You could share your screen. but you have to try.
That also impacts not only what's under the proposal, but what's in the alternate proposal, I believe, in terms of the total. So this was, if you're looking at the proposal sheet, this is on line not, sorry, I'm trying to get across it, line 10, in
Line 10,
tab P. And so that should be increased to 1,184,000.
Wait, I'm sorry, 1 million.
$1,184,427.78. And like I said, that should also go over to the alternate proposal. Sheet. You're asking a lot of me.
I know.
have to change this number.
Yeah.
To one.
To 1,184,427.78.
Got it.
And that was increased to reflect the FICA that has to be paid on those dollars.
So I had a question. One thing, I see projects that are on this list that I did not see, I think, on the survey draft when I looked at that. And I think that was a little confusing for
That's
me.
correct.
And the other thing I'll say is, I know that I'm trying to figure out how we are collating, collecting the proposals we've received. I just know from iVision that I had earlier today, Ms. Purdy had to hear it. We've received a proposal from the community kitchen that's ranging between, I believe, $300,000 to $400,000 with significant information and detail. And I'm not seeing that anywhere on this. And I want to make sure that that is not lost in the shuffle. We have a lot for a hunger package, but I think that we can't have that conversation without that.
Yep.
So I want to
Agreed.
make sure I'm not grabbing the wrong things. And then it makes me worry. I know about community kitchen because I know about community kitchen, but what does Decker not else know about? And I don't want us to screw up one-time money in a one-time bad way. So is there a way that we can verify we have all hearts and minds to content on this? Because there's things we can do here that we will, as public officials, probably not be able to do for another 30, 40 years. Most of us won't be in these roles. So can we double check that portion? So this blue where Hoosier Hills is 100, Summit 700 and on down, that should really have that community kitchen proposal at an ask, I think, of 300 to 400.
Yeah, I didn't have that information, but you guys can always add it in, right? But
Yeah.
you have to then determine what you're going to take away from.
Right.
Right? It's a give
Yeah,
and
and I
take.
do think that's a helpful way of, I mean, I like the spreadsheet quite a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just, I think I was gonna mention the same one, Trent. I don't know what else we're missing. I feel like we've been, I'm just going through my emails right now because I feel like we were bombarded in the last like 45, 60 days with all kinds of requests for ARPA that we'd never seen before. And I certainly don't want to miss any of those either. So maybe if we all look at this, we can see what else is there. I'm looking through my emails right now.
And remember that there is that tab labeled not funded, which doesn't necessarily mean it's not funded, or that we don't want to fund it. It just means it doesn't show up on the proposal or alternate proposal, but has been discussed. But the community kitchen is not on that list either.
Yeah.
Some of the other things that I have been interested in are on that list, which means at least that they're recognized here.
Right.
Well, yeah,
I'm just encouraging folks to quickly scan through their,
Yeah, I think that would
Emails.
be really just helpful as a team here.
Well, and also we did have on the survey stuff for the People's Market, and we've been advised that that funding is not appropriate, at least for a good bit of it.
Well,
So,
it would have to come under lost revenue. If we did it.
Well, why does it not say, it doesn't even say LR in the not funded column?
What are we talking about?
the People's Market request for funding, yeah, on the not funded spreadsheet that you sent to us, it indicates that it's not appropriate.
Right, the State Board of Accounts responded to the auditor's office and stated that it doesn't meet the business of the county, which even lost revenue has to meet. So
Oh,
Yeah, that's new information.
Which one?
that is a new wrinkle that I'd not heard before.
I believe Ms. Gregory shared it with
And
via email.
they're saying it just like that. Cause I mean, we've got a ton on here about hunger and food and
Yeah,
that's an
yeah,
interesting
abs-
response from,
how does this not meet?
I'm not saying one way or
It's
the
the,
other.
it's the slaughter process.
Oh,
slaughterhouse.
I see.
The
Because, okay,
That's,
Slaughter.
yeah,
okay.
'cause that was 200,000, I believe, and then they had.
Okay, that makes, because it's a cooperative business, but it's a business.
It's just slaughtering animals is not a
They didn't
Part
turn
of
down the food
county
boxes.
government.
The food boxes is still eligible.
So
though.
the 25,000 would still be
The
eligible.
25,000 would be, yeah.
That's good.
There are conditions that they would have to meet on those boxes, but yeah.
Right. But they're already meeting a lot of conditions.
It's-
with
They are,
the
they,
Not
no.
funded.
State Department of Health is requiring them to meet for those boxes, for the
For the
boxes.
boxes, again, I will defer to
25,000.
our auditor
That
because
sounds
they
like
talked
something
to Baker Tilly about it and there
Okay.
are certain requirements that they
Okay.
have to meet. They have to give them to specific,
Okay, so we still need more information.
no,
Okay.
they can only give them
Okay.
to certain individuals.
Certain
Based on
community
Impacted, yeah, based
impacted
upon.
communities.
Or
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
disproportionately
got it.
impacted communities.
Yeah, okay. So it's not information we're needing from People's Market.
No.
It's information that People's Market needs to adhere to. It's guidelines they need to adhere to.
It would have.
Got
to,
it. Okay. Thank you.
I think once we've make sure that everything was identified, I know Commissioner Thomas mentioned that, suggested, I guess, that we start with things that there's probably broad consensus on. I agree. I like that idea to kind of to lock down what we think there's broad consensus on.
Yeah. On the survey, affordable housing was listed twice. And what I did is I just combined the numbers. If somebody put a dollar amount in for the land trust and another dollar amount for affordable housing, I combined those numbers, by the way. So
Right.
I had to monkey around with Survey Monkey, as it
Well,
were.
and it looks like there are several categories on the proposal that are related to housing. There's Osage, there's housing infrastructure, and there's housing land purchase.
I don't know what housing infrastructure is unless it's the repairs. So I think, I don't know if that's just a total column.
No, that is now done, correct?
Is it Osage done?
The phase one of Osage Place is done. Phase two, they are putting out to bid and for construction
Right.
next year.
Right.
I've spoken with the director about that.
With Habitat.
Yes. And
So
so
it'll be spent next year.
the spreadsheet, I think it's the housing infrastructure is at the last one of these, you guys expressed the $3.5 million to try to find a project. So I'm doing that and it's been broken out here between housing infrastructure, which would be if we owned if we bought some property, the road and all that would be in that property. And the housing land purchase would be the purchase of the land. There are different requirements based upon how we go. I can't tell you what that breakdown would be right now. I think I'm probably a week or two away from asking you guys for a time to kind of meet an executive session to go over the different options so you guys can, I mean, there's
I see. So it's under the restricted. The land trust, the land purchase for the land trust is under the restricted column on the far right. But the infrastructure to develop and create the housing is under the column that's
Yes.
to its left. Okay.
Infrastructure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So
And
which of the two spreadsheets are you looking at for that?
I'm just looking at the proposal spreadsheet.
The one labeled, the tab labeled proposal.
They have labeled proposal.
But I still want to make sure I understand Osage. So we have right here, what's listed in blue, which indicates that we haven't yet decided on it.
Yeah, it shouldn't be, no, it should not be in blue.
So that 1.7 million should be white.
That's been allocated and agreed to and signed.
So
Okay.
that is,
blue at the bottom.
we did
Got
that
it.
long
Okay.
ago.
Yeah.
That has been approved and we have an agreement with.
I just did not think that in the current state of things, Habitat had an application before us for anything.
Okay.
So that would be a little surprising to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
All right, we're good.
But we're confident they're going to spend that money before our deadline,
okay.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just verifying.
I spoke with her today.
And they
about
know
that.
that. Okay,
We had a conversation.
perfect.
And what was the community kitchen amount request? So at least we have that on.
I would put it at 400,000.
Yeah, I think it's safe is to hold it
Mhm.
at 400.
I agree. And where does that go? Which column does that go in? It's not, it would have to be under,
Probably with the other, is it with the other food or is it with something? Is it?
I imagine it would have to be with the other food.
What do they want it for?
They're building a new community kitchen.
That's a different animal.
Yeah,
Okay,
11.
So it'd be up
no,
to
at
Second.
Pigeon Hill.
Secondary.
yeah,
the crest.
not
bonds,
Summit, but
Monroe and
yeah.
11th Street, right?
Monroe
11.
and 11.
Yeah. So it's a building.
I would just say that this is the first time I've heard of this
Yeah.
project, so if you guys could forward us the information so we could. I would presume you're probably right, it probably would go
I
under
will
the same
forward it right now.
category as the food groups,
Yeah.
but I would want to run that by Baker Tilly. And get their guidance on how that is done, so.
For now, let's put it in the restricted though, because it's safe, I guess.
Okay.
I think it's either way, I think it would fit, but
And do we do this in proposal or alternate proposal?
I'm just working in proposal right now.
Okay.
And just to know, I think we received that from Community Kitchen on like September 7th. So it's our officials' error in not sending that on to smarter folks than I who helped us figure this out. So thank you.
all right. So if we have all 400,000 there, we're now essentially 922,000
Mhm.
in red for the total
That's what
under
I've got.
proposal.
Yeah. So blue is the
Not
not yet.
Not yet,
appropriated, Not yet spent.
right.
And these are the numbers that we have to reduce in order to come up with 922,000.
Mhm,
To decrease by 922,000. Is that correct?
mhm.
Is anyone open to at least adding the 25,000 from the People's Market to the restricted amount under proposal?
Yes, because it's not on here anywhere else right now.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
I
So we'll call it People's Market food boxes. That way it's clear what it's for.
That's great.
I believe that amount is actually 48,000.
48.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you. Food boxes.
One more note, just to They are not a 501c3, so we do have to, it might be under lost revenue. We have to do a little bit more research on that.
Okay, well, we
I-
can leave it here for now, but move it if we have to.
You have the
I'm
paperwork.
gonna make a note for myself.
Right, yeah. Yeah. Right, there's one, right.
I think that the number that's jumping out to me the most on this whole first page is the airport stormwater drainage at
Yeah.
4.7 million.
Yes.
That is a huge amount of money. I am, I know we purchased property. I know that some of this project that they've listed for 4.7 involves that property, correct?
Not really. No, I actually talked to Carlos today. This
Okay.
is really basic. Yeah, I mean, my eyes popped out too. This is, according to him, really basic drainage remediation they have to do on the airport. This is not helping us make
So,
that property.
So this
This
is,
is runway.
yeah, okay.
Taxi
Okay,
way.
because I thought 1.7 of this was for the new property and 3 million was for the maintenance of the field, as it were. I think my big concern with this personally is that we have the Clear Creek watershed, the Sinking Creek watershed, sorry. And I'm not sure where we're at stormwater wise with taking care of that to address this. So in other words, are we putting a Band-Aid over something, or is this truly, so I would really like stormwater department to give us a really good opinion on this work, because I think we should make sure that it fits and that it's not something we're going to have to redo.
And
for
they
that
were
much
not
money.
aware of it as of, when I talked to Lisa earlier today, they were not aware of it. So
Yeah,
So, and I spoke with Martha Miller earlier today about this, and she said it is primarily a soils issue. It is, the nature of the soils that are a big problem.
there's a soils issue, but the soil issue is related to really poor drainage in Sinking Creek. That whole area, way beyond the airport, is really fragile environmentally. So I think I would want some more info on this, yeah.
Yeah. It's under a lot of pressure right now, and that pressure is going to be increasing.
Mhm.
And there are downstream effects from a number of things that weren't completely anticipated.
Mhm.
And it's a really problematic area.
Yeah, I agree. And that leads me to wonder if this is something we can even do, by the end of the ARPA cycle as well,
I would
because
worry about
this will take a lot of engineering. So I think
I
that's
think
the
so.
second question I would ask her, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think I would have a long conversation with Kelsey about this, because as I say, that's so sensitive and is already under so much pressure.
And we certainly don't want to do something that makes the airport work for now, but creates problems downstream either for homeowners, because there are a lot of homeowners downstream. And so that would be my third question. So, okay.
It would be interesting too to see if there could be phases of this project. 4.7 is a lot of money. Could we chunk it out somehow?
I asked Carlos that question, and I mean, he acknowledged that it almost certainly could be phased. The question is whether there would be other funding sources, but.
To do the later phases, yeah.
But I mean, I agree. That's 4.7 million out of this relatively small amount. That's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Though I think they do make a good case that there are issues there, major issues that need to be addressed.
I agree. I think we need to address this. I'm not as interested on the new property as I am on our current airport. So it's interesting to consider. So That's a large chunk of money there that we're talking about.
The other question I have on the Karst project, which, you know, I totally support the soccer fields. I do wonder if there are any other funding sources that could maybe reduce that amount, you know, not necessarily by a lot, but maybe some. The two that come to my mind immediately are, is there anything in the innkeeper's tax that could maybe provide a grant to, you know, it's not going to be $4 million, but provide a grant that might reduce that number, that acknowledges the tourism value of the of a turf complex. And then also there's always, I mean, this kind of seems kind of silly, but naming rights. I mean, we're creating a complex. Is there something that could be sold? Is there value in the naming rights that somebody would be willing to pay for?
So we will have to go to the CVC to ask for allocation for Karst Farm, if that's the pleasure of this group. And I've been talking to people, Kelly's here, she's heard me say multiple times that we ought to be looking at possible naming rights. It's just been difficult to come up with whom to approach on some of that. You know, I don't know any executives at Nike or Adidas or Under Armour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, oh, Peter does, okay.
I did not say anything.
Yeah, yeah. So identifying
Injured on this earth.
identifying potential sponsors for that is also, I think, an important thing to consider as we talk about that. But that's been under discussion for 3 years at least, right, Kelly? 3 or 4 years? Yeah. Yeah. So this is not new.
Well,
I would like us to approach the CBC, and actually, I mean, I'm on the CBC and I was going to make a call today. I just ran out of time just to see if that, you know, what kind of funding would be even possible.
I agree. And that's been the tenor of the conversations, was how many traveling soccer teams are coming into town and how we could bolster that.
Yeah.
One of the things that always comes back as I consider that what's going on out there is that impact for tourism. And as I was telling someone earlier today, I did not play any sports, and I regret that, given the number of constituents I hear from about these soccer fields, which I have learned to take a little bit more serious than I used to be real candid. I mean, I hear from parents a lot. I would love to see some alternative funding so that would be appropriate to tourism dollars or dollars that would support the fine efforts there, so that then we could free these funds for other things that we're seeing. I mean, clearly a housing hunger package is emerging here naturally, given the community needs, among other things. I'm probably shortchanging education that are important, and Karst is important, but if we could find dollars to kind of assist with that, would be the worst thing.
So I guess, does anybody object to me raising this as a member of the CBC, to raising the potential request for CBC funding to supplement this ARPA?
I think that would be useful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, do it.
And I just want to say, I appreciate everybody looking at this very seriously in both bodies, because I think this is an important thing for a lot of folks that sometimes doesn't make the priority list, but it's clearly something we hear from folks on all the time.
But I think there has been some kind of calculation done on the increased dollars that would come in as a result of this. And Kelly, Ms. Whitmer, do you have that in the top of your head? What those increased
It depends. I don't have it memorized, but it was a substantial amount. When a tournament comes in and the parents come in, the grandparents come in, youth tournaments are better for the community in dollar wise, because grandma and grandpa are coming also.
Well, and also our own teams are not leaving here to go other places, spending their
They-
money other places.
Correct. They stay here. And I always say the people who are really going to make out on this are the restaurants and the hotels. Because if we bring people in, they'll stay overnight. We also do Big Ten items, club sports that come in. So you have to, you know, someone from Illinois is coming in, someone from Michigan's coming in, so. I don't have the numbers memorized.
But I think that the sports person at Visit Bloomington has some of that.
They know. They-
Yep.
Mhm.
They have it.
I think one of the other things I have an issue with in blue, and there are a lot of items missing because there's a whole list here that's not on this proposal list. I think one of the other items that I'm not too excited about is jail transition. And I know that that transition has to happen and I know that we have to fund it. But I'm not sure ARPA is the best place to do that.
And I also don't know that it meets the time frame for the payment.
Yeah, that's
what I
true
would
too. Yeah.
Well, is that real? Is that really true? I mean, we're hearing a request, I think tomorrow from the sheriff to start that process. So are you thinking that that's premature? 'Cause they seem to
No,
think they've already
no,
done it.
I think they need. I think the way that the Pony folks described it is they need to have some additional staff in the jail so that current staff members of the jail can devote 1, 2, 3 days, whatever, however many days a week to just transition. I don't know how it's, I've heard that it's set up differently with a whole different person being chosen. That's all council business, but that's going to last many years. I just don't know that ARPA is the right way to, if that's the right way to spend ARPA money when we have none of these items are on here. Well, most of these items that we surveyed are not on here, so.
Well,
So,
the way I look at it is that we really have to fund the transition process for 1 year. After that, at least we have the option of requesting an increase in the corrections tax once we have a good plan. But,
You don't have any other way to fund?
well, I mean, we maxed out this year on giving employee raises.
We
I mean,
did,
that was our.
I get that.
that-
I get that.
whole year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get that.
We fulfilled our mandate.
But
It's-
it's my reading of that not all 8 of those were for the transition. There should not be that
No.
required.
So the proposal coming to us tomorrow is not going to be to fund
Sorry.
The proposal coming to the council tomorrow is not going to be to discuss all positions that ultimately will be requested. It is to be the director of the transition team.
Jeff, do you know any, I agree. with you.
I guess I'm going to answer the ARPA and the ARPA timeline question, right? I think the ARPA timeline question is, as long as the contract is in place by the end of next year, it can be, the funds can be expended until the end of 2026. So, and this is under a lost revenue, which means that that's kind of your goal. You know, I think the 600,000 is a placeholder because we wanted to acknowledge and have you guys have a conversation about this. But we don't have any real meaningful thing to add as to how much it should be or how it is. I personally, I think from an ARPA perspective, I think we can use it. We can use it so long as we have a contract in place by the end of 2024, but we can't expend it after the end of 2026.
Okay.
So from our timeline perspective, I don't think it would cover the entire time from now until
No.
the facility is built, right? So you got me a little nervous when you said 1 year, but then you explained why you're at that place, and I would agree with those statements. But that is kind of the goal, right? And I guess part of the reason, I'm gonna go a little sidetrack, part of the reason we did this is because of those timelines, right? We are a little over a year away from having to have everything under contract. And some of us who write the contracts are getting a little nervous that we need to really get going. So I'm just gonna emphasize that and slowly back away.
I did want to clarify that tomorrow is a discussion only,
Mm-hmm.
and we are discussing 8 correctional facility transition team member positions in greater detail.
Mhm. I'm just trying to think back to the pony training and how they described it, and it wasn't, it was described as you have to increase your regular jail staff, and then you're going to pull people from, am I remembering this wrong?
Yeah.
Right, and
Yeah,
that's
that's-
what the
okay.
sheriff has
Oh, okay,
suggested, that is what
okay.
he's proposing, but I think the idea is, let's get the director first, and then we figure out how.
How many,
How many are
But
needed.
that's
how many and when? for the-
that is a
the rest.
lot. Okay, so then you're saying the jail transition shouldn't be $600,000.
No,
I don't know where that 600.
I don't know.
I don't either. I,
Well,
that's why.
I'm saying it should not be. And if,
Well, why don't we put a question mark next to that, and y'all can come back with a specific request for a team member or whatever
For
it is,
one-
employee or
Okay.
contractor, or whoever it is that y'all decide you want to hire.
How about reducing it to 200,000
There
as a
you go.
placeholder?
Yes, but
Yeah.
that's what I'd recommend is that you
That's still a
play with the
lot.
numbers
Let's do
and
that.
see what you can come up with. And then I
But
also,
we can always reduce it.
I'm just, yeah.
yeah, I also want to just clarify the problems between this document and the Survey Monkey. It took so long to get responses on the Survey Monkey that by the time that happened, I had been made aware of other projects that had not been discussed at your prior meeting. The Survey Monkey was based purely on the results of that first meeting.
Mhm.
And then since that time, there was more information that became available. And so that's when Jeff and I worked on trying to come up with something, because you are looking at a year.
So nuts and bolts though, if we could stay focused on what we have in front of us, right? If we can. Nuts and bolts are that we need, I don't know, I don't want to volunteer you, Lee, but would you mind talking to Kelsey about the stormwater in the airport and having an initial discussion? I think my question would be, what would the first phase be? Engineering, how much would it cost, and bring Carlos into it would you mind doing that? If you can, I can do, okay, awesome. So we're gonna get more information on that. Jeff's gonna go to CDC on the karst field, and we're going to have further information on jail transition. Right, so those are 3 things that we know we're waiting on information, right? Okay, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here.
So after that last change, the balance remaining of all funding dropped down to $522,398.99. So that helped to reduce the jail transition.
Yeah.
I'm still showing a loss.
You're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah,
it's still a loss.
It's a
still-
it's a
still-
negative $522,398.99.
You're looking in.
I've got 1.2,
Right.
I've got 1.2
G.
million.
If you take
Under
that,
G.
if you take it down
G43,
by
like we're
from 600,000 to 400,000,
bingo.
that helps, but I also added in community
the
kitchen for
first
400,000 and the food
Okay.
boxes for the People's Market for 48.
Right,
So-
so I've got 1.2 million over. And then we still have other items
Yeah.
here.
I don't know what you've added that I didn't, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So.
Hmm.
When we talk about using the survey, for the 6 people that responded to this, all 6 were in favor of some kind of allocation for affordable housing. And what we're looking at right now, and I don't know if this is the final number, correct number, what we want to shoot for, whatever, it's listed at 3.5 million. Mr. Cockrell, do you want to
well,
educate us?
that's the 1 million for the land trust and 2.5 million that's coming in under housing infrastructure.
But it's listed as 2
It's
million.
listed to 2 million for the
2
land trust.
million in the spreadsheet. So it's 4.5 million. total
4.5.
spreadsheet.
I would love to have 4.5 million for this project. I think we could spend it. But we're working on it, right? And land trust is an option, but it probably isn't the only one that we'll look at and discuss. I think working with planning, I've talked with the City of Bloomington hand director. I talked with Indiana University. So we're putting together a list. I'm hoping to have a somewhat long short list in the next week or so, and then have you guys in for an executive session, because we're talking about properties that we don't own. And so, we're working hard with the $3.5 million budget. And at that executive session, I might say, well, if you're going to spend 3.5 million, here are your options. If you go up a little bit, not going to go up to like 5-10 million unless you guys want me to. But I working with an engineer, Steve Smith, who retired, who is going to help me with some, so I can get reasonable estimates on what infrastructural costs in some of these places. That's kind of where we're at right now. But I'm hoping to have something like that. I would ask that, 3.5 remains in whatever we do. And then, as you see where we're at, you can bump it up or not. I mean, you might find that none of the options are worthwhile, in which case you've just gotten yourself another $3.5 million to figure out what to do with. I mean, but we're in progress. It's taking a little time. My goal is to have something to you guys early November, because I think if we're going to move on this, we need to probably start the environmentals or whatever, those kind of reports and that kind of engineering by the end of the year. And I think if we don't meet those goals, I'm not sure we'll be able to get everything under contract by the end of next year to get it moving. So look for an email from me for a meeting on that in the next couple of weeks.
Great.
Okay. But it sounds like we should probably reduce that total amount, because right now it's tying up 4.5 million rather than 3.5 million on the spreadsheet. Unless we want it to be tie up 4.5 million.
If there's no objections to that, and it's not. We've just got an error here. I think we could change that.
Jeff, I'm not coming up with the 4.5 million. Can you tell me which specific cells you're looking at?
So are you looking at the proposal tab?
Yes.
Okay, so I see 2.5 million under housing infrastructure.
Right.
H24,
And then I see $2 million under housing land purchase.
P27.
Okay.
Do you see?
Thank
those?
you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So that's why I'm saying we could reduce those two lines collectively by $1 million and still have
okay.
what Mr. Cockrell was recommending.
So
And
I would say move the housing land purchase to 1. Because the biggest cost is probably going to be the infrastructure. We can always move it back if we have to, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one's at 2.5 already, so
Okay.
just leave it.
Housing to 1.
Housing land purchase to 1 million, and then leave the other one. That'd be my recommendation anyway, because the biggest cost is in development, not in the land, actually, as expensive as land is.
And we can always move
Yeah,
around.
Yeah.
if we have to swap
Okay.
things around, we can.
Thank you.
That brings us into the black for the balance remaining while funding for some of these other Survey Monkey items.
So in looking at the Survey Monkey items again, if we look at those, that was the only one that all 6 respondents indicated an interest in terms of the housing support. But as we look after that, we've got the Summit Hill Early Learning Center, we've got broadband, we've got turf at Cars Farm, rural housing and septic.
What I would do is take off this list, the housing, the first one, the Summit Hill, Smart Start, turf, and People's Market, because they're already on the spreadsheet. So just ignore those lines for right now.
Which
So-
ones again?
The housing,
Right,
the first item is already on the spreadsheet.
right.
Summit Hill Early Learning is already on the spreadsheet.
Right.
Smart Start on the spreadsheet. Turf at Cars Farm Park on the spreadsheet. People's Market on the spreadsheet. Does that help? Because now we've got a much shorter list of things that we had talked about that we may or may not want to add.
I
How
agree.
could they be there twice?
They're-
They are.
They're already on the spreadsheet,
on the
so you don't
spreadsheet.
need them, don't need to look at them here
Yeah.
because they're already on the spreadsheet.
So this would be then, some of these have already been not funded, like the BEDC also. And, so then it's where we go with these other items. Because by taking $1 million off that housing land purchase, we actually are back in the black with stuff. We've got over 400,000 yet
Okay.
also.
I see.
That's correct.
I think what we need is a prioritized list or some sense of what we would want to change and how we would want to change it. So for example, we've left airport drainage alone, but that is a super high number.
Yep.
I don't think it's even doable in 2 years. But we need to check a lot of information out on that one. That's probably the number that's going to change first and foremost, is my guess. So if we look at the other projects, we have these left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 items left, although Sojourn's not on this list right now because they haven't met the qualifications. So we do need to make a decision about whether to remove or not. So that's the question mark. But so we have 10 items on this list.
And 3 of them are ranked with a vote of 5 respondents. So that's broadband, rural housing, and septic
Right.
as
And
most
the,
popular.
and the broadband proposal is specifically to try to fund the BEDC to do the community action plan. Which I don't think they've agreed to do it yet, but maybe that would be an impetus. They haven't given us a dollar amount either, have they? Okay, we don't know the amount. Okay. And yeah, and then we have treatment, which is general, and treatment in the jail. And then we have treatment funding and treatment both listed on here, and I didn't know why they were listed twice, so I don't know what the difference is. They probably could be.
And what does it mean by treatment?
I
don't know.
That is such a
I'm
broad.
assuming it's mental health substance use disorder, general.
Yeah.
Because it's listed in the questions below where it says, would you support putting some money into a pot so that after NAMI comes and does the assessment, that we have some capital to put towards establishing some sort of center that somebody else is going to hopefully operate.
Well, and I would point out too, that although there were only 4 people that indicated they wanted to support just the straight treatment funding, it, to me, looks like it had the second highest dollar amount committed to it from the people that committed.
Yep. And this was pre-IRACs really, right? This came up before IRACs. And so we know we're planning to use opioids, potentially, ostensibly planning to use opioid settlement money as our county match. The state's going to fund some. So we don't even know what the funding,
What treatment and needs will be
We
going
don't know our
forward.
needs yet.
yeah, we don't know, we haven't had the gap analysis done yet, right?
So as we move down this particular list, one of the things that I think that Commissioner Thomas has been digging into and really promoting, and perhaps you have been too, is we've been looking at supporting septic. And so I don't know what you want to report on some of the things that you've looked into with this, about what that might be, how it might be done, who would be eligible. You've thought about it.
For the what? For
For
the
additional funding
septic?
septic, yeah.
Yeah, well,
Wait, wait.
apparently,
We've got septic on here already at
Right,
220,000.
right. So the question is, do you want to add more? And these were both listed, both rural housing and septic are listed under additional funding. Apparently septic, because it's a stormwater and environmental issue, is something that's fairly certain to be accepted. I'm looking at the nods. Yes. Right. So there is an area of the county that has, it's a whole neighborhood of very old septic systems. Jeff is going to work on an RFP to get somebody out to see what, because there has to be some financial benefit to doing multiple homes at one time in one neighborhood. Because you're renting trucks and you're doing all, equipment and everything else, and most companies will do a break, but we're gonna see what happens with that. And then we also have a list of septics that we know are failing in the county. And we'd like to just kind of go through that list and just work on those one by one.
So what about, do the homeowners have any, do they have a contribution, or what's their responsibility in fixing?
Yeah, so we talked through that, and I don't know what the outcome has been. I know the one neighborhood in the county is lower income, older folks demographically, but not all. And so that is a question for how to proceed, because ARPA could cover it. But going through the income qualifications is also a lot of work, and it adds a great deal to the programming activity that goes on just to get this going. Now, the thing about septic is they apparently will book these out about a year in advance. So these would be done next year. And they do them whenever there's, 4 or 5 days of dry weather, then they will install, and it'll be a lot all at once if they can. Jeff, can you add anything else?
Yeah, there's a season for installing septics. It's essentially June through when it starts raining in the fall.
Yeah.
That's because it's got to be dry. For your rough estimate for one house is $15,000 per septic. I think we have 220,000 currently associated with this. So that's, 17, 18 homes. And so one of the questions I went to the health department who does septic. They had a list of the worst case, and it was probably about 7 or 8. And then, but we also know those are only the ones they know about. We also know that there are some, older neighborhoods, and I think in the county that it is reasonable to believe that most of those require some kind of probably require new systems. I would say even if their system is working properly, they are probably undersized for what we would require right now. Because I think it was before 1960 or 70, there were no requirements on size for septic. So, there's a thought, and this is kind of a question to you guys. Do we want to look at this at you want us to go find it? Well, here's a neighborhood that we suspect has old septic systems that would not meet our standards right now, that are probably failing or will fail in the next any time because of the age of the system. We look at that, but even if it's reduced to 10,000, if they're all next to each other, it's still the current 220 will be maxed out before you get past the 3rd or 4th house. So I mean, that's kind of in my mind, the question.
And I think one of the things that could happen would be to then look at income and figure out who has to pay for what, but then that may mean people say, I don't want it if I have to pay for half of it.
Right.
Or if you can only fund 10 houses, how do you pick the 10? I mean, that's, is it a lottery? So the first come, first served. I mean,
I would,
Right.
we could take a different approach to it and look where the septics are doing the most damage to the environment. And kind of determine in that way.
For context, the health department knows about 133 failing septic systems. So we have to somehow think about which 20 we're gonna start with.
Is that connect, because Jeff, I'm not sure if that number is right, because what we heard from the health department, I hope that number's not right. What we heard from the health department was that people installed septics without a permit previously, and so those are considered non-conforming, even if they might be conforming. So,
I think,
Or at
there's-
least working.
yeah.
Right,
I-
right.
Well, right.
I think
Good point.
if that list is the one I think it is. When I talked with the person who does it, they thought that list was not as up to date as it should be. And so I asked her to send me, give me the ones you really know for sure need this done, and let's do those. And that's the list of 7 or 8 I was talking about. I mean, I kind of, I don't want to, it's been a while since I talked to her, so I don't want to kind of paraphrase what she said. But I think one of the other things you could think about is if you want to look at high impact areas for this, maybe step 1 is to have someone inspect it and then make a determination. I mean, I guess in my mind, if we were looking at sensitive areas where we had I mean, it's all funding, right? I don't know
Yeah.
how much it costs to
So that's-
inspect one of these and things like that, but but that would be a route to go. I think the basic premise is still true in that we believe we have a lot more failing septic systems than we know about. And so it's how do you analyze information? Because right now, how the county looks is it's a complaint driven.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah, and by then
not
it's
a-
too late. It's
not
already.
a systematic
Yeah,
survey in
yeah.
any way.
So
Well, if you have suggestions, why don't you send me an email or send Jeff an email, and
Well, I
we'll
mean,
just we'll keep, working on this, because obviously we're, 10 months out from. But we do need, but we need to know how many and how we're gonna do it.
well, without, continuing to get into the weeds, is there just a figure that we want to plug in here as that we'd be able to I mean, all of this is contingent anyway. We're just trying to build a model here.
Yep.
I mean, is there an additional amount we'd like to add for septic?
Well, I would recommend that we add some septic money and also rural housing, and in rural housing, we're at that point now where we're ready to roll out to townships soon. We've come up with a system so that people will utilize their township trustees, who will figure out the income qualifications of the person needing repairs. We're going to have a group reviewing 2 quotes blindly without knowing the company names on specific repairs with before pictures sent in. Once that's done, there'll be an after pictures, and we would pay the bill out of this fund. So I would ask that we put 200,000 each into rural housing and septic.
So do you mean 200,000 more into the septic? So it'd be
Yes.
420,000?
I would add an additional 200,000 to septic, and I would add an additional 200,000 to rural repair, because if you see a price of a roof right now, this money we've allocated so far is gonna go quick.
Do I have concurrence? Do we have concurrence on that?
What do y'all think?
I'm okay with that.
One thing on the septic, I would say is, and as I think about this, I think it is a huge opportunity to get something right,
Yeah.
which, as
Yeah.
Commissioner Jones said, is just the alternative is not what people expect, right? And so I think it's a one time you could do something like this and do it. As far as folks with stakes in the game, I think that's a flexible thing maybe we need to figure out. Because I am concerned about people not reporting, not knowing. The last part I would just say on this, and I agree with the amount that's being discussed, is I want to make sure that when locations are looked at, we find locations where people want that to happen versus the alternative. And I'm assuming that that's always the case, but having gone to a few doors in my time, I know that there are, and look, there's choices and then there's things that start to affect everybody and that become other people's choices. But I think wherever this could have the biggest impact with the most agreement, and we're not having legal in here for other alternative discussions down the road, would be the most helpful. So if someone has said, if an area has said to health, we'd love to get, like for instance, in the city, I know it's not our purview necessarily, but the Broadmoor neighborhood, there's folks on septic that complain about that. Well, if the city were looking at this, that would be a logical source because you got a willing participant. So anyway, just some kind of focal thoughts.
I'm okay with the increased amounts too. The balance remaining while funding is still in the black. So we have the resources. Let's do it.
So people in favor of increasing the rural housing to 400,000.
That's,
It's close.
yes,
Mhm.
but both 200,000, an additional 200,000 for septic and an additional 200,000 for rural housing repair.
So what I want to bring in something different, and that is in one particular area along South Rogers, there are failing septic systems, and there are also new residential developments that are going in with packaged sewer systems. And it would be better to connect those to incoming, soon to be developed systems, if that is a possibility.
If they're in an area, that's definitely preferable.
Yes,
Definitely.
but it's something to look at as we are discussing this.
Agreed.
Okay,
Of course, of course.
That's-
Yeah, of course. I think
Okay.
one of the things we talked about
and some deals.
we looked at one particular neighborhood, for example, and there just isn't anywhere to put a package plant because that would have actually been cheaper infrastructure wise to do versus replacing septics. Of
Yeah.
course, then the homeowner then gets a bill every month, which they would have to be agree to hook on. But
Yeah.
but there actually isn't room. So, but yeah, I hear, oh yeah, for sure. If we can do that, that's preferable over septic. Yes.
And maybe part of a grant program to cover those bills for X 10 years or something like that it would make it so
But it would-
much better.
But it would make the resale value of the home higher too.
Mhm.
So that's, it,
Oh,
there
it
is a
would be
benefit.
real benefit,
Yeah.
real benefit.
So
Raise,
All right. So those two are done.
increase the property tax.
I would say gun safes got some half support. It's not a very expensive thing. What was the amount again? Is it
it was a total of $40,000.
$40,000?
And if we wanted to knock it down some, we probably could. This is to buy gun locks for handguns and for sort of promotional educational materials, and also safes that for handguns that would go into people's vehicles.
God.
So
Which keeps all of us safe.
And this has been talked about pretty diligently with people from IU and the city and folks who really know about gun safety.
and with bar owners and the Mom's Man Action Group and things like that, and it would be funded through community, through the what's the place on Miller Drive called?
Community health. So it would be administered out of that building.
Right.
So it would be administered out of the Miller Drive, IU, Monroe County Health,
And-
Community Health Center.
Can you remind me, would there be IU researchers tagged onto this to do some of the follow-up or the data collection with this? Or was that not part of this?
That wasn't part of it, but they might be interested in following up.
Sure, okay.
We
I
could
wouldn't
offer
pay
it.
for it, but they could do it.
We can offer that. Yeah, Mr. Kim.
There was a note under not funded under gun safes that says Senate Bill 4 health funding may be more appropriate. Is there any more I don't know where that comment came from, but is there any detail about that? Is that a possibility?
Oh, the state would fund this?
I don't know.
That's a new one.
I don't know where that note came from.
I and Ms. Purdy's left us.
Yeah.
Do
It's
that
pretty.
quickly before they change that law.
And,
That's-
Yeah,
yeah.
they'll change that if they see
That's
that.
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't object to including
Why
gun,
am I-
gun safes.
Is this something that we should check with perhaps Senator Yoder on?
I would like to put it in for 40,000. Right,
40,000.
I would like to put it in for 40. We can always take it back out, but it's such a community safety issue, especially,
Yeah.
you know, car break-ins.
And it's
happen all
something
the
we can do
time
to
and-
stem the tide of gun violence.
Mm.
It's something we can do.
It's a little some.
Yeah.
What do y'all think?
I'm completely in favor of it. and I'm-
Are we good?
It's a small price to pay.
It is. What do you think, Jeff, Cheryl?
Alright.
Good?
Go ahead.
Okay, all right.
Can we talk about maybe reducing the pantry 279 Thanksgiving allocation to
yes.
recognize that the 2,500 families that they talk about, no way, those are all Monroe County. I know they serve multiple.
I don't think she was asking for us to fund all of it.
Oh.
What she did was I asked her to put together an overall budget for what she needs to spend. But I would like for us to move on that if we can, at this meeting. I'd like to see if we can get a motion and votes on this because they need the money yesterday to do this.
Okay, and be clear and specific. What are they asking the money for? What is the specific purchase?
So she had a whole itemized list of what it would cost for the turkeys, for the hams, for the chickens, for the cornbread, for the.
No, but it's just food.
It is
It's just food. These are food boxes
Right.
for families.
But how are they going to identify which are the Monroe County families?
They don't. Or they won't at least they haven't in the past for the Thanksgiving distribution. And the other ones, they actually, during the regular drive-throughs and stuff, they do.
So,
We would just have to determine an amount that we think is fair and
yeah,
appropriate. Or are you asking for the full?
Well,
100,000?
no, I'm not asking for the full 100,000. I think the other issue is that we have to stop and think about the fact that some of the people that don't live in Monroe County actually work in Monroe County. And so we have to think about, are those people that we should also be supporting?
Mhm. And she's utilizing the food bank purchasing program. She's not going to grocery stores and buying full retail. So this is a very budget conscious organization. I'm in a 1 year, we did do grocery stores because it was COVID and it was crazy, but she is using all of the food bank food warehouse.
I think she clips coupons. She's so conscientious about every cent that's spent out there. She also organizes volunteers so that for people that don't have transportation, we deliver things to their houses. The type of and amount of food that you are provided is dependent upon the household size, things like that. So we've had people come through that there's one person in a household. Those folks are not provided with a turkey. They get a chicken kind of thing, sort of. So she's very specific.
So it is an alternative between the meats. It's not that they're offering people all three.
And
I know some people do.
No,
Mhm.
and we've been out, or I've been out there at least at times when people come through and say, no, I want the vegan option. And she provides that as well. So she's very, very conscientious of, and responsive to the kinds of folks with their requests. I was out there a week and a half ago and she's just so proud of her new facility as well.
No, it's well.
Yeah.
And
So-
of course, they're doing a lot more than food.
Oh my gosh, she's now got a clothes pantry going. She's got actually pots and pans because a
Household
lot of
items.
the people that come through don't have the pots and pans to do the cooking. In the past, they were relying on things that were just microwaved. She's got food supplements in terms of vitamin supplements and things like that going on, diapers, women's hygiene products. I think she had soap and stuff too,
Mhm.
right?
She did. She had shampoos and soaps and all kinds of stuff.
Well, what's an appropriate number
50,000,
then?
60,000? the scope of this is hard for me to I mean, obviously, the fidelity of the organization and the way they run their business is great. They're serving a lot of people. There's no argument there. The question is, what's the number?
Well, I think the more that we provide, the more people will be fed, I think is how I look at it. So she will be doing other fundraising. Is what she said. But I just asked her for an overall budget of what she was.
How about 75 and she can raise the rest?
That's higher than I would have gone.
Okay, then throw a number out.
65.
I'll go with 65.
All right.
It's like an auction.
I'm sorry, I'm so cheap, I was gonna go 50.
I'm fine with a strong number. That what I would like to say is, I appreciate, we have a considerable number of hunger intervention folks here. I've spoke about it before. I'll say it again. I appreciate Vicki Pierce, who's the director of the community kitchen, who's here. And I want to know, and this is something I've said to Ms. Pierce more than a few times, that kitchen has had a van over in that Ellisville community. They've had it on the south side near to where I live. And we've got a lot of folks doing these things in a really aggressive, sustainable way. We have people that are would be starving had we not had the interventions of these good folks and Hoosier Hills Food Bank, Kitchen, and I appreciate Pantry 279 entering into this. I support a good number on this. I do want to make sure as I look at this, I see that kitchen option, which I know I've spoken about before. I see that as a long-term sustainable intervention at Crestmont, where literally the poverty, my mother was born on Monroe Street, a block from there. The poverty has been in that area. It's remained in that area. And I appreciate that the kitchen has an operation and opportunity to expand that a little bit that extends in the city out into the county to supplement those food trucks, Pantry 279, all those other things that are happening. Hunger is clearly an aggressive curse for us in this community, which a lot of us don't see because frankly, we're sitting in these seats and with a lot of privilege. But I just want to make sure on our hunger package, it's rounded out to reflect.
That number's in there.
That number's in there.
That's got
That number's there. It's not moving as far as I'm concerned.
Good. The more hunger, the better on us fighting it here, I think.
I think for today, though, I am concerned about us moving on a few items specifically today and moving them off of the proposed list and on to what we are willing to write a check for. And for me, Hoosier Hills Food Bank also falls under that same thing.
Yeah.
What they have told us this year is donations are down. And food costs are up, and fully half of their pantries are reporting that they're not meeting the needs of the residents that come to them.
Right. And Hoosier Hills Food Bank supplies all of the local pantries.
Right.
Right.
And
Do we want to move some food today or do we want to work on the one? What do we want to do?
I would like to do, I think we could do community kitchen today. I'd be fine with agreeing to that. Pantry 279 and Hoosier Hills Food Bank. If we did those three today, we can get some forward motion going. I don't know if it's already, if you've advertised for every council meeting still putting ARPA items out there. You don't, I don't know if you know if
Kim,
it's.
I think she's on Zoom.
It's for tomorrow, right? It's
yeah,
advertised for our
but
meetings.
Okay,
I
thought it was listed over there. I thought I saw it, but I wasn't sure. Okay.
So
Yes.
will you come to tomorrow's meeting? We'll do this then?
well, I think as a group, are we ready? Oops.
Are we ready to
60.
recommend as a group to go ahead and put those three items forward and then we can talk about it?
Well, why not People's Market too, if we're gonna do all the,
Okay,
all the
alright,
food
well,
projects.
I want to know for sure. I want to hear from Bree about everything. Do all these, are these going to fly?
These all should do well. At Hoosier Hills, we've already researched in depth. They serve a pantry and a qualified census tract. So for food and that sort of thing, they're a direct beneficiary. So we can just provide that funding easily. The others will, we'll have to, People's Market, we've done some research, but the others will have to do a little research and see which category they'll fit in.
Right, but we could still, as a group, make a recommendation based on auditors' research. Would that be appropriate? Okay.
Can I just clarify the amounts here? Community kitchens, 400,000, Hoosier Hills Food Bank is 100,000. People's Market is 48,000 and Pantry 279 is 65,000.
We don't have an amount yet. I
No,
thought
I
there
was
was
gonna say there was some
disagreements on that.
dissension or.
I think I was the lone wolf here. So go ahead.
Well, I mean, we do have to come up with a recommendation for tomorrow.
Right, could we go to 65 and everybody okay with that?
Go ahead.
Everybody's a little unhappy. That means we've gotta,
That's right. That means everyone, we're doing the right thing.
it's how you make sausage and then feed people with it. So 65,
Possible
48,
sausage.
100,000. And community kitchen 400, right?
Yes.
Great.
And that's on these spreadsheets.
Okay.
That's on the spreadsheet.
And we're still in proposal tab.
Yes.
Community kitchens on L12.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we can do those four, we can add something to our commissioner's agenda based on what you do Tuesday night. We can, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Got that,
Jeff
Angie?
says
Jeff?
yes.
And Bree's got her hand raised.
Could you please repeat those one more time for our
Okay.
notes? Thank you.
Community kitchen, 400,000. Hoosier Hills Food Bank, 100,000. People's Market for boxes, food boxes, 48,000. And Pantry 279, 65,000.
That's correct.
Sounds good.
And Michelle watching out in the ether.
Yep,
You
please.
can make note of that and assist us with that tomorrow with our memories.
So,
Yeah, she is right there.
oh, she has her hand raised. Oh, no, she doesn't. Yes, she
She
does.
does have her hand raised.
She does have her hand raised now.
Okay, can we have Michelle talk with us, please?
Okay, I just want to let you know that yes, it is advertised and I'll just need to work with Bree on getting the correct account numbers and then it'll be good to go for tomorrow night.
Yay! Thank you.
All right,
And then will
progress.
Will you copy Ms. Purdy on that? So we'll have it on the commissioner's agenda for Wednesday.
I
Yes.
sure will.
Feels so good.
It does.
Well, and remember when we were doing Sophia Travis, that was the through line with all of this.
Yeah.
Sophia Travis was hunger, hunger, hunger.
It
Yeah.
was.
So are we done with the food?
But we having a feel good moment here.
All right, Jeff.
Swim in that for a
Yeah,
second.
but as we talk about the hunger stuff,
But yes, we need to move on.
Commissioner Thomas and I and Kate Wiltz actually also were out at Hoosier Hills Food Bank when they dedicated their new
Yes.
Their bus.
refrigerated truck.
Yeah.
And several other donors within the community made it possible, but we were the second largest donor.
Yeah. Yeah. Kroger was by far the largest, which was great to see.
Awesome.
Kudos Kroger.
Yeah.
All right, feel good moment over.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
Jeff, where do we need to go?
Yes. Mr. McKinney.
I would really like us to still put in an allocation for the broadband action
That's what
plan,
else.
even if whether or not BEDC does it. And we can work out the details, but I really think that
I-
that's important. that
I-
we- that we-
Okay,
that-
so we,
that's
but,
scored well.
okay, I'm okay with that. I think that's one of those, like some of the others we've identified where we need to do more research. We need to get, if it's not if it is BEDC, what do they need? If it isn't BEDC, who does it and how do we? Is it a group? Is it a consulting firm? We can get anybody to do this. The question is, how much is it going to cost?
Right.
So I think there's more research that needs to be done on it, but I'm fine adding that in. Because my understanding of the situation is that once that community action plan, I just called it that, but once it's set up and established, that opens the door to funding from outside.
That's the purpose.
That's
This
what
is
we wanna
not
do.
something where we're gonna be paying bills for other people. This is not something where we're paying to put in wire. Or whatever infrastructure's needed. The feds, the state are supposed to do this.
Yes.
And we have to facilitate it. We have to lay the groundwork. And so that's the goal. Yeah.
That's
Right.
exactly what
Yeah.
I have in mind.
So, and a number of consulting firms have helped multiple communities with this. So this is starting to move within the state.
So
of
we may just
Indiana.
need to find a consulting firm and get a
Yes.
price.
Yeah.
I
think
agree
so
with you.
too.
I don't want to wait on the BEDC.
In the not funded tab, that figure is not the broadband figure. correct?
The $1 million.
No,
plus.
that's a whole bunch of.
Yeah.
That's a whole
No,
bunch of BEDC that,
Yeah, that was a
AI
different,
AIC has some
workforce
information about.
proposal.
there's a whole, yeah.
Okay.
And that workforce proposal had support from half of the survey respondents.
I just want to, can we just put?
So how
let's-
much?
Let's say 100,000,
Let's-
it's just a.
Let's
place.
call it 100,000. It may be more than that.
And it
but
goes under
part of
the infrastructure?
Yeah,
Is that infrastructure?
Yeah.
Okay.
the,
Even if
Yes,
it's to develop the
is.
plan, even if it's just,
I agree.
even if it's just to develop a plan, is it still infrastructure? If it's to develop a plan, or do we have to actually be like laying fiber for it to count for infrastructure?
I'll have to talk with Baker Tilly. I'll let
Ah.
you know. I'll send an email.
Okay,
Okay, yeah, thanks.
I mean, that would be great if we could, but okay.
I think there are multiple communities that have taken the consultant approach. Yeah. So they'll have an answer.
So that means we've moved on all of the Survey Monkey results with 5 or more respondents.
Right, that does.
What do we need? What additional information do we need to move forward on the Centerstone residential? This is the support
I-
housing.
I think we need to get that gap study done. I think we need when NAMI comes in, hopefully early in the year, they do the gap study, identify the weaknesses, the strengths, and they can give us a much clearer sense of what's needed in Monroe County. We can do an RFP, nationwide RFP if need be, and find a provider who's going to fill those gaps. And that includes residential, that includes everything. I think we are just like, rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, as they say. If we spot fund this, that, the other, I don't think it's bad to rearrange the deck chairs. I just don't know. I think I would rather hold off on that for a short time until we have that NAMI information about those gaps. And then we find one way to address it. We should put aside, I believe, some ARPA funding to address that as a capital, whatever it is. So if a provider, if we find out that we need to get a provider and the provider says, oh, we need 2 buildings, we can do the buildings, but we need land. If we've got ARPA money set aside to pay for that land, that's our contribution. And then we step back. Like, I don't think we should be in this business. I don't think any of us wants to be in this business, but I think we want to facilitate meeting all of the community's needs, and understanding what those needs are is the first step. And we don't know that.
I guess I would agree with that if these were new projects or new services.
But this isn't.
These are existing services that serve real people that are crumbling around us.
And this is the historical home project where we didn't
One of
know
those was
if,
the-
if it was historical. Yeah, I agree. This is an existing program where people are actually in it. Yeah.
Where else have they looked for funding?
Almost everywhere. I mean, we could have it,
No, I'm just curious. Did they go to the city and ask for ARPA money?
for the city, doubtful,
Since they're inside the city.
doubtful,
Okay, just curious.
but I can find that out. I don't
Could
know
we,
if they've
could
asked
you
the
find
city.
that out? I'm just curious. I just feel like, for example, I know Community Kitchen has gotten funding from a number of different sources, and, it's always nice when there's a shared burden, right? And a shared dream and a shared goal. New Hope is a good example of that, where they got funding from a lot of different folks. And if we can contribute, I'm really happy to do so. I see what you're saying about this being existing infrastructure. But, I also, in the back of my mind, I go, what if it turns out we need something, twice as large, and now we've put money into something half as big as what we need? I don't know. Yes,
Well, I'm
get.
sure we
I
will
get-
need.
Yeah, I'm sure we are gonna need some.
Well, I will certainly find out who else is a possible
Okay, all
partner or funder.
right. So I would leave the number in for now, but I would say, let's do some research. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
One thing I just want to kind of add to that discussion. We were talking earlier about the generic term treatment that we often all throw around. And as some of our friends in the judicial system often tell me, we have 1,000,001 programs and things going on. And so I see a lot of those solutions when we get to defining treatment through folks just like Centerstone and many other entities, because they are doing the work, and have been doing the work, et cetera.
You're absolutely right. You know, we've heard over and over again that we need to be relying on our community partners, because otherwise we're reinventing the wheel that they know how to drive much better than we do.
For sure.
And what do I know about any of that inventing on that wheel?
I'm in
There
the
are things
same-
I do for a living, and that is not one of them. But as a steward of the taxpayers, I have to marshal those folks together to figure it out.
Absolutely.
Mr. Kim.
And this is just a clarification question. I just realized that paving and drainage neighborhoods is still listed as blue. Did we?
That was
did we not?
additional.
Additional.
That's an additional suggestion, and it didn't get very many votes in support.
Oh, okay, that's additional.
That's
Okay, I
for
thought we had
additional
voted on
projects.
it.
Yeah, I'm,
She's already working on it.
Yeah.
It's already done, some of them.
Yeah.
Great.
Did we
Ms.
not
Gregory,
vote
sorry.
on?
That's already been
Infrastructure.
appropriated.
No, that's
I
already,
thought we voted on.
you did,
something.
that's already
This is a-
appropriated. It shouldn't be
It shouldn't be
blue.
blue.
No,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be, okay.
Should not
You're
be
saying that should
blue.
not be blue. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought we.
The problem is that Baker Tilly and I were both working on this and we used the same colors.
Got it. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
which is proven to be a
Just, I
problem.
was sure we had voted on something. Okay.
Yeah, if you will notice, the numbers in black all have an account number to their left. That means they've been appropriated. That is their actual account number in Lao.
Got it.
So are there any other items that either were on the survey or that we are, sorry. Moving around on me, that are listed on the possibilities on the spreadsheet on that proposal that we would like to discuss today and bring forward over the next week or so? You know, we've got the Summit Hill Child Care Center, we've got the Smart Start Community Foundation issues. I mean, we talked a bit about Centerstone Residential and we're going to wait on land purchase, but are there any of these others that we want to move forward? Are there any other things that we've already added the community kitchen today?
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
and also, are we definitely moving the gun safe stuff forward?
Yeah, I am good with moving Summit Hill, Smart Start, and Gun Safes forward.
And are these the numbers that people want to see with this?
Oh, we're gonna incorporate the
What
lot
does the
revenue.
700,000 get us with Summit Hill?
They have multiple funding sources. They are building a new childcare center. And especially targeted on infants and toddlers, which is where the biggest gaps are right now in local childcare. And I forget the total amount, but this is, I think it was close to $4 million if my memory
This is-
serves.
So this is capital. though.
This is capitals, and this will also have that's the first floor, and on the second floor, there will be 3 affordable apartments that impact, of course, people that in the communities that we want to be working on. And so to release this money will mean that they know they have it and that they can move forward on this.
This is really, I think we should go with this. Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, everybody on the Summit Hill.
I'm sorry, Angie and I were talking, Summit Hill?
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
And then we're waiting on residential, we're waiting on land purchase. What about the Smart Start Community Foundation request?
I think we should move forward with Smart Start.
This will allow for a lot of different things. There's a great need for substitute pool within childcare community. There's a great need for some training and upgrading of different software. And this will also allow for additional training for people. According to what the BEDC has done with their latest economic vitality project, only about 50% of the demand for childcare is currently being met in this community. And when that happens, you have families that stay impoverished because one or more of the childcare
It's
child giver
Mhm.
or caregivers stays at home. And so I think this does have the potential to impact our community.
I completely agree. We've had some misses on childcare throughout this process, and it just seems like this is something we can do. This is great.
And this, Ms. Gregory, this fits with what we can do also, is that right?
I mean, there's always hoops, so I need to look specifically at this, but it should.
Okay, okay, fabulous. So I guess I know what I'm doing tomorrow evening.
Yay.
Other-
deal.
Oh, did we say gun safes was in? there?
Yes.
I would like to add gun safes in there, yeah.
Yes, definitely. Um,
So do you want to read the numbers off for Ms. Gregory?
so that was, the Summit Hill was $700,000. The Smart Start Community Foundation was 200,000 and the gun safes at 40,000.
Perfect. And just to confirm, we're also, so those three may be appropriated. The whole list for appropriation, can I just rattle through it? Okay. Community kitchen at 400,000 to be appropriated tomorrow. Broadband at 100,000.
Not for tomorrow.
Not
We have to do
tomorrow.
more
Okay.
research.
That'll be in the
Later.
proposed,
Okay.
which we could do.
Good deal. Let me
Yeah.
unhighlight that. Please.
Maybe another week.
Okay. And okay, so we have community kitchen at 400,000, gun safes at 40,000.
Mhm,
Huger Hills Food Bank at 100,000,
mhm,
Summit Hill at 700,000.
Mhm.
Smart Start Community Foundation, 200,000,
mhm,
Pantry 279 at 65,000,
mhm,
and People's Market at 48.
mhm.
Yes.
That's everything.
I have a question. Do we still,
Sorry.
do
It's
we
okay. Startled
still
me.
need, do we still need to deappropriate the Ivy Tech childcare?
Yes.
Has that been deappropriated?
That's been handled for
Okay,
the last
great.
meeting.
Yeah.
Do we still need to do that? We need to make a decision about adding Sojourn House to the deappropriation list for now.
I think we do.
I think they haven't met the requirements and Jeff has been very diligent about working with their bank and with the,
Yeah, I haven't heard anything on that.
Yeah.
But before we go there, I had two other things that weren't part of that list that I want to see if you guys, I believe you guys approved an additional 200,000 for the septic and an additional 200,000 for the rural housing repair. And so I just want to make
Do-
sure that's part of the appropriation.
do we want to appropriate that this week or do we want to get those programs up and running? I would rather we appropriate it this week. We can always lower the amount later if it turns out we don't need it.
So
But
that-
that's a good point. So
The
it's
rural housing repair would be. We need that.
right. Well, the septic, because
need it
that's
now.
going to, the septic, because it's going to impact how we do this program. And
Right.
we're trying to
Septic
figure out
needs
how to
some
do it.
The septic needs some research, but I think that.
No, it doesn't need research. What it needs is we need to figure out the best way to move forward. But if we don't know the dollar amount, it's going to be harder for us to figure that out. So if we could know that we have that additional funding coming in on septic, and then we know that that money's there for rural housing, we can move forward with both.
And there was general consensus on those dollar amounts. Was that?
200,000
We
in
added
each.
200,000, but it was already like the rural housing was already 200,000. And
So
you
we're-
already have a line for it, so we're increasing it by
Yeah.
200,000.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, so it'll just be another additional for 200,000.
Right.
Well,
In each
an
one.
additional, Yeah.
Yeah.
And the same with septic, you already
Yeah.
had that aligned for that.
okay. And then just to make sure we have consensus on going ahead for now, deappropriating the Sojourn House. We have consensus on that since
Sounds like.
we've waited so long. I mean, we
It
could
sounds
always
like-
come back to it if something
If it
turns around and
changes,
there's
we
a
could-
miracle. Okay.
Right.
So add that in? Okay, thank you. You're awesome. Anything else we're forgetting?
The balance remaining of all funding is a negative $75,398.99. So
But the airport's
Yeah,
at
that's still
full. and
includes
that's
that-
right.
full-
Yeah, yeah, that's still,
And full
we still have wiggle room.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. there's
but
still-
it's close to zero.
And will you guys send me this back?
Yeah,
That, I was just
I've
going to
got it
ask.
all coded. I can send you one.
Thank you.
And one thing I
I
wonder-
would, I would say send it to everybody, Jeff, so we're using the same.
Let me
and I
send
can-
it to you and you
You
send.
send it to
And
everybody.
and then I'll double check it
Make sure.
against what I've got
Yep.
too.
Yep,
One thing I just want to
we'll
reiterate
send it back
is
out Wednesday after we meet.
us keeping momentum in motion on that cars, figuring all that out. And I think Councilor McKim's got some follow-up to do, but making sure that we're keeping that moving more so than not. And I appreciate all that.
And if I may, I know that I think there's a number of projects that are in the restricted use column. And you could actually move them to the lost revenue column because we have 2,067,000 in lost revenue. And it would be easier for our auditor staff as well as the people who've received that funding. You got a
Can-
question?
Well, that's.
Can I ask that just be managed internally? I don't want to make that decision right now because
Yeah,
it
if you guys
seems,
don't care, then we'll
it-
take care.
yeah, I mean, I don't, to me, I would go with whatever you all find out after talking to Baker Tilly, because we still have a number of items, even for the current list for tomorrow, that are outstanding in terms of research from Baker Tilly about whether they are lost revenue or not. So I would be fine with whatever you all suggest, and I don't want to meddle in that personally, but I don't know how everyone else feels.
So Angie, I just sent it to you. So can you redistribute it to the
I
group?
will. And then can you tell me what it is we're waiting on from Baker Tilly? Other than community kitchen, the building.
We need to look at those food banks and determine where they're gonna fall because we have to have impact and so forth. So we just need to do a little research to see where things need to fall.
So
There were-
the non-Hoosier Hills food bank,
Right.
because
So-
we know that one's in.
So it's everything that's on the list that still needs to have research done is pursuant to Baker Tilly
Yeah. okay, got it,
input.
got it.
And whichever fund, I don't think for our sake that it matters
No.
for right now. I think we just want to get moving on these things, right?
Yeah.
Get them in front of our respective bodies. Okay.
So could you all clarify where we are with the Cars Park funding?
It's still in the list. We just agreed to see if maybe we could get some innkeeper's tax support to reduce the amount.
Which is, we just keep growing that
Okay.
tax.
I guess I have a question about that project in particular, because I know there's going to be a decent amount of engineering and design that'll need to occur. And it's similar to the infrastructure for the housing, is that we really need to make sure we have enough time to get the design done so that we can get bids out by the end of next year. So I guess one of I would emphasize that if you guys could move quicker on that, so that, because that's gonna take a
Okay.
lot of design and stuff, so that Kelly will know, hey, maybe by the end of November or mid-December, go ahead and get the engineer for the full thing on board.
So the engineering should be a priority.
Well, and I guess
But you put it in the bond. There's some in the bond already.
we've got some funding in the bond as well, and that's kind of the other half of it. But if we use the bond money for the engineering design of it all, I'm not sure how it all shakes out. So I guess that's just a request, is that some of these we're gonna have a long lead time. Let's see if we can get answers.
Yeah, and what I'll add.
You just
because-
tell us not to take forever to come. up.
Yeah, please don't. Yeah, please don't take forever. And then just because Julie looked somewhat frustrated with me, and that is that the karst projects. The bond we don't have that money yet, for one, and then second of all, you guys need to decide, do you want to do all the projects or not? Because if you're not doing all the projects,
Right.
then yes, that
Right.
1.2 in the bond can be used to move some things forward on the turf. But if you're wanting to do it all, then we need to keep those monies separate.
Oh, okay. Mm.
Well, and it's helpful to have the blue highlights in the spreadsheet to kind of know where we're at. So that would,
Thank you. but not too
So
many
I
booths.
thank you, everyone, for being out here today. I feel like we got a fair amount
Yeah, this is
accomplished.
productive.
And if there are no objections, I will adjourn the commissioners portion of this meeting.
And I'll adjourn the council.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.